Okay, guys, let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, I've been a dating coach for 13 years now. As a result, you may think that I'm going to make a video about how most of you would all benefit from paying lots and lots of money to a dating coach such as myself. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But those of you who know me a bit better would know that I'm notoriously picky with who I'll allow to join me and get coaching with me. Not because I want to be a snob, but because the simple truth is that there are many times when I don't advise men to seek the help of a dating coach. I'm not in this industry for a cash grab. I'm here because I genuinely want to make the world a better place. So rather than make a video trying to convince you to get dating coaching, I want to tell you when you should be avoiding dating coaching at the risk of pushing away some potential clients. Because I'm sad to say that the world just has too many nefarious dating coaches offering the world to men who they have no business or ability to help. So let's talk about this. First of all, I should point out that broadly speaking, there are two kinds of dating coaches. For simplicity, I'm going to call them hard and soft dating coaches. Hard dating coaches are usually, but not always, men. I myself fall into this category most of the time. I don't just talk to men about dating, I actually take them out to bars and clubs out during the day and get them approaching and talking to women. I also look at online dating profiles, I take photos and write profiles and guide men on actual dates. Soft dating coaches are usually, but not always, females. The niche they fall into tends to be more a form of therapy or emotional support in a man's dating journey. I have a number of male and female Zoom clients who I coach in this way. However, most of the time I'm focused more heavily on masculine, feminine self-development rather than dating in these sessions, because I don't think you can learn actual dating skills in an armchair. Both forms of coaching serve men in different ways, and you may seek out one kind over another for a variety of reasons. But it is important to note that there is this distinction in dating coaches. Okay, so who should be avoiding dating coaches? So first up are the dreamers and the dabblers. Let me be upfront. Yes, about 1 in every 5 clients that come to me arrive in a state where they're just perfectly ready to change. And in no time at all, they're transformed into absolute dating machines. But that leaves 80% of men who need to do some serious work on themselves first before many results will manifest. What's holding back the great majority of men from meeting women isn't specifically a lack of dating skills, although they may well also be lacking, but the greater part of what's holding men back is the deeper self-awareness and psychological self-development aspects of themselves. Learning to be successful with women is, for many men, a deep dive into yourself as a man. For most men, this takes time. So unless you're ready to commit to making a very big change and doing all the work necessary, honestly, don't bother starting. You just can't fast track most of this stuff most of the time. You shouldn't expect or hope to be the exception. Secondly, we have time-poor individuals. For the reasons I just mentioned, if you don't have the time free to work on this part of yourself, then you shouldn't get involved with a dating coach. It will be frustrating for everyone involved if you can't find the time to practice. If you think you can just head out once a week and forget about your self-development at this part of your life, then you will be sorely mistaken. Time commitment-wise, consider this the same investment required as a man deciding to get into good shape by going regularly to the gym. You don't just go and work out once a week and call it progress, do you? So why should working on your own brain be any different? This should be something you work hard on multiple times a week. Thirdly, and this is a very common one I see with a lot of potential clients, is men who haven't got the rest of their lives relatively sorted. So I think that our dating lives are way more important than society generally gives credit for. Men are going through a loneliness epidemic, which has been shown to be a contributor to suicide rates, depression, and a range of health issues from heart disease to cancer. Not to mention that a bad relationship with the wrong woman can make your life a living hell in more ways than one. But I can't state this strongly enough. You really should be getting other parts of your life sorted first, or at the least be putting work into them at the same time. So if your working life is a mess, if you're unhealthy and don't take care of your health, or you don't have much of a social life to speak of, I strongly advise you to forget about women for a moment. This is for two reasons. First of all, when it comes to your emotional well-being, I believe that having a game plan you're already working on for these parts of your life is more important. Secondly, a man who's working towards his career dreams and who takes care of his health and who has good quality friends is a lot more appealing to pretty much every woman you're going to meet than a man who has none of these things. I'm not suggesting that you should have a successful career, be super fit, and be the life of the party before thinking about dating. Instead, I'm saying that you should be already on a healthy trajectory in these parts of your life and not have them neglected and falling apart. By the way, notice I don't mention being rich. Most women don't need a guy to be wealthy, they just want him to be driven to pursue the things he wants from his career. The big takeaway is that your results with women will come a lot quicker once you have these parts of your life under control. Okay, so the fourth on this list is men who are on the autism spectrum, which is also known as ASD or autism spectrum disorder. And this is a bit of a complicated one because autism spectrum disorder is by definition a spectrum, ranging from men and women who can barely communicate with the outside world to men and women who you'd barely notice anything amiss with, even if they were close friends. There are also many men who aren't even aware that they're on the spectrum. And public service note, if you've always felt like you never fit in with people very well and struggled in social situations, you should always look into whether it's possible you are on the spectrum, since men on the spectrum can hugely benefit from adhering to a range of different coping strategies. Just being on the spectrum doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't get a hard or soft dating coach. However, I'd advise you to only seek hard dating services if you are quite high functioning. I've had clients before who initially refrained from disclosing their ASD diagnosis, and they simply couldn't keep up and felt huge amounts of frustration as a result. And it needs to be said that I have a much better understanding of autism spectrum than almost any other dating coaches do. But in spite of my understanding of the disorder, the simple fact remains that learning to cold approach is often a poor dating strategy for men on the spectrum who aren't really high functioning. Last on the list is men who have unmanaged psychological issues, including but not limited to men with depression, anxiety, poorly treated bipolar disorder, an extremely low self-value, or extremely low view of women. And I'll be honest and say that I truly believe I'm one of the most qualified dating coaches to help men manage a range of psychological issues. And yet, I still don't think you should be coming to see me for dating coaching if you're struggling in these areas. Why? Because you should be forgetting about dating until you put the hard work into dealing with these issues first, and not trying to blend dating coaching and overcoming deeply rooted psychological issues at the same time. If you don't address these emotional struggles, then dating coaching could well prove quite emotionally traumatic. I've known many men whose depression and anxiety or neuroses of varying types have become worse as a result of dating coaching, especially when the dating coaches involved have no clue how to really manage these conditions. So guys, I get it. Frustration around sex and dating can feel overwhelming, and you want to get support to change it, and you want that ASAP. And there are no shortage of dating coaches overstepping their bounds and feeling overconfident in what they can teach you. But I've been in this industry longer than most. I originally became a dating coach precisely because I disliked how the whole industry was running. It has improved over the last 13 years I've been in it, but it still has a way to go. The big takeaway I want you to have is this. Learning to get better with women is usually just a part of an overall journey to becoming a better man. To work on yourself, to build a life you love, to learn to love yourself, to feel like you deserve to be loved. Getting lots of dates is usually something that happens toward the end of this journey, not at the beginning. And yes, there are some guys out there who manage to pick up women with ease in spite of their own lives being in pieces. But here's some insider information. this is where sex addiction often creeps in, with sex and validation from women becoming barriers to them working on the rest of their lives and escaping their own forms of personal hell. No different from the role cocaine or alcohol may play in other forms of addiction. Admiring these men makes as much sense as admiring psychopaths for not being familiar with heartache or fear of rejection. So take it easy on yourself. If you're truly ready for dating coaching, you'll know it. But if you aren't, don't stress. The man who shags the most women doesn't win at life. It's the man who has the most happiness in his life who wins. And the only way to win is to work on all parts of yourself. And on that journey, the shortest path to happiness is for some things to take precedence over women. Is there something you think I left out of my list? Because I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Now, please don't feel tempted to tell me you need to be rich or hot or tall to get women. I've replied to those comments often enough already. And if you need to use those all excuses for being lonely and feeling unloved, then my response on a YouTube comment won't be enough to dissuade you of that notion. For the rest of you, take care and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my next video.